a stupid nitpick. But Bill's supposed to be this like you said, gun toting, like has these amazing defenses guy, and the dude's like completely lit up, standing in the middle of a street firing a sniper
Yeah,
rifle
Agreed.
when there is
that
clear
was
cover anywhere else.
literally anywhere.
That's
Literally anywhere.
like I understand they have to make sure he like gets hurt, but that was so silly to me. It's like this dude is smarter than this.
There was a way better way to do it, Robbie. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Like he could have been like shooting from his house or like from like a higher area and just a stray bullet gets through the wood or whatever. But like for him to just stand in the middle of the road, like that's not what that guy would do.
Dude made it very clear at the beginning of the episode and throughout his time that he was like so prepped for everything.
Exactly.
He had every major thing. He was fighting about the lawnmower and
Right.
about wasting resources.
Right.
You're telling me he's going to stand in the middle of the street for a fight? Get out of here with that.
Well, he's wearing a white shirt and completely lit up by all the
100%.
flame. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Not a nitpick.
Like-
That's not a nitpick. That's a legit claim about that character. That's not a nitpick.
Also, I mean, this is just one thing that I noticed, and I wouldn't even call it a nitpick because the direction they went was obviously the way they chose to do this episode. But I mean, Bill in the video game is honestly, Nick Offerman does basically a spot on job of portraying Bill in the video game. Like they're pretty much the same character, but it's Ron Swanson. Yeah. You go on this mission with Bill though. Like basically he's got this town, which they do in the series as well. Mm-hmm. And he sends Joel and Ellie on this mission to go get a battery on the other side of town that has a bunch of infected people. So they could have went with some action in this episode, but instead they decided to focus on that relationship between Bill and Frank, which I'm not sad about because it was a really awesome episode in whole.
That's interesting.
The deviation that they took was like, we could have had more action. We could have had more zombies, more clickers, all that stuff. And they just chose to go a different direction.
That's the reason they did the season. That's the reason they did the scene at the beginning with Ellie. That's the whole reason they did that. That was your clicker scene this week. There you go. You got your new clicker scene. We're done. Now we can go to this story.
And there was, now that you mentioned that too, that was a really interesting scene with Ellie and that clicker in the basement. Or not clicker, the infected.
Just the infected, the clickers and infected are different.
Right.
Forgive me, sorry. Forgive my vernacular.
She goes down there, like basically is kind of like playing with this thing. Like she cuts it just to see what'll happen, ends up killing it, but like there's a weird moment where it's like just focusing.
Did it seem like that thing was going to talk?
Did
anyone else get that? Like to me, I was like
it was an intense
weird
moment.
It was, yeah.
But like it looked like the infected thing's eye looked at her like it was pleading, begging for mercy, which I mean, she gave it by killing him.
Right.
But that was an interesting moment because like for some reason there was focus on that moment, and I don't really know why at this point. Like I'm assuming that's going to be revealed down the road a little bit, but like this was a moment that they specifically had her go down there. They specifically had her find this.
Right.
And it really doesn't go deeper than that. Like she kills it, comes back up, and boom, they're on their way.
I think there's a payoff for that later.
Right. Yeah. That was a moment to me that's like, there's got to be something to that later down the road. I don't know what that is, but
we've talked about a lot of negatives. Let's talk about some positives real quick. I really like with Bill and Frank too, how they show this post-apocalyptic world. I like all the things Bill does to set up his house. I know, Robbie, we talked about the gunfire scene, how that wasn't great, but how he is prepared for people to approach the fences and burn them. That was just wild to me. How he was very fueled up right out the gate, how he watched everybody essentially be sheep going with the government. He knew, he's like, they are not going to help you. They're going to kill you. And it happened. And he's sitting there just mocking all of them. And he looks to be gallivanting around his community. After
oh my gosh. When he's in the Home Depot afterwards, just like loading up his cart with stuff, I was like, man, that would be kind of cool actually to be in there just like picking out what you want for the future.
I thought that was a way too crowded Home Depot for the circumstances of that civilization. I think more people would be headed down there for stuff in that situation.
Well, I think that's why they showed like obviously the military was already there. They already cleared out
Sure.
that
Right.
town.
Yeah.
So the military is going town to town doing things.
Yeah, they're clearing everybody out.
Right.
And as we saw earlier in the episode, clearing them out or killing them, like it's like,
Right.
hey, if you're not leaving, you're going to be killed. So
Well,
I
we're gonna
also
kill
love
you
that
anyway,
Bill
like-
did not lose his libertarian philosophy of life.
yeah,
Yeah.
Even
don't
after
tread on
dating
me,
Frank. So like
flags.
they have that relationship where they're talking in the street and they're talking about the mowing of the lawn, and Frank's like, well, they weren't Nazis. He goes, they're definitely Nazis. He goes, well, they weren't. They are now, but they weren't. And it's
They
I'm
are
just like,
now.
Mhm.
I loved that. I loved that
That was
dialogue. I loved the "Don't tread on me" flag. I loved the bunker. It was just perfect. Like I was like,
And
that
it,
is
like,
prepper territory.
Again, this is like exactly spot on the character in the video game as well. Like he's this like, conspiracy theory bunker. He had all this stuff ready before the outbreak happened. Like
yeah.
it wasn't like he started preparing all this, like he was ready for this.
Right.
This is like what he was made for type of thing. And it's like Nick Offerman, man, just like he just makes this episode shine.
This is Nick
absolutely love him.
Offerman too. You guys obviously have been joking that's Ron Swanson. Actually, if you've never seen Devs, I got more of Forrest, the character he plays in that show, vibes.
Mhm.
Devs is a very dense show on FX. If you want to check it out, it's very dense, but very worth your time. It's actually Offerman's one of his better acting roles, in my opinion. And I got really strong, like how he was processing as a character, different character philosophies of life, but how they processed. I saw that in Offerman in this. Offerman's such a good actor. He's
a
so
great
good.
actor. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, you like watching Parks and Rec, you kind of think he's like a one-trick pony guy, like, oh yeah, he's just a funny guy or whatever.
Right.
But like seeing him in these serious roles is like, man, dude can act, and it is phenomenal.
Well, that's all I got. Anything you guys have after that?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of what else we wanted to talk about. So we mentioned it on the previous 2 episodes, but J-Buck has been doing these side-by-side shots from the video game to the series, and we'll throw that in the show notes for you guys to look at. But it is just, I'm always just impressed by how they're able to fit some shots that are just exactly the same as the video game. And
am I correct too that the ending shot, Isaac, is the title screen?
It sure reminded me of it. I couldn't tell you if it was exactly the same, but like, I mean, when you go to the title screen in Last of Us, it's pretty iconic. It's like an empty room. You're panning over this open window, and there's like these drapes, light drapes that are kind of like waving in
That's
the wind.
opening of the game menu, right?
The game, yeah. And there's like the guitar playing, and so when you're panning out from them driving away from Bill's town, I got the same like kind of vibes as that.
Wow.
I mean, it's not like the exact same shot; it's a little bit different angle, but they're doing a great job of doing like recalls to the game.
That title screen's got a lot more meaning to that now from this episode.
Yeah.